Wednesday, and that means unusual openings. We're going to try to play stuff I don't normally play. Gambits, maybe things I wouldn't normally keep in my repertoire. Fun openings, sharp stuff like the King's Gambit, maybe even the Black Mardemer. Every kind of gambit you can imagine. Sharp openings I wouldn't normally dare to play. You guys can join the fun. Unusual openings. The Birds opening, for example. Anything you can think of. Saronche just made me think of the Birds opening because our moderator here in the channel is just back after, I think, taking care of some things for a while. So good to have him back. We've got lots of challenges. Any time control, basically, with a small increment between 3 and 5 seconds, and a main time between 5 and 8 minutes. So anything between 5 plus 3, and 8 plus 3. 8 plus 3 is the maximum I'm going to play, because longer than that, and the games can go over 20 minutes a piece. So that's pretty much as far as I want to go with the time control. We have 7 challengers. World loser Baku's FIDE master from Serbia, Mu Povac. Amir Ananas, who's really Periode. Constant Change and Milan Cry. I appreciate Periode telling me that he's got a different account, so I know it's who I'm playing. Don't like it when people have many multiple accounts and play me with different ones. So it's cool to let me know that you've got a second account, and I'm who I'm playing is because you have information about me. Obviously, I know a little bit about who I'm playing. So we're gonna get started here, guys. So we can chat and talk about chess stuff in the chat in Twitch. But let's get started because there's lots of challenges. Unusual openings today, so don't let me forget that we're supposed to play stuff that is not my normal repertoire, just for fun. We do this once a week to get away from the same openings all the time and experiment with some different stuff. So let's get started. World loser, pretty good level of players, like 2100 to 19. FIDE master, Amir Ananas is 22, Constant Change 22, so lots of good players. Alright, so the reason I asked for increment, if you're new to the stream, I don't necessarily play with increments in normal blitz, but because I'm streaming and talking about the games and commentating, I tend to use a lot of time, so the increment keeps me from flagging in all my games. Alright, so I said unusual openings. I think I know what to do with world loser. What I'm going to try to do here. He almost always plays d4, but he's not letting me. Okay, I've been known to play the Budapest Gambit occasionally here. So now he's played knight f3, which makes life a little bit difficult. I wanted to play something unusual, but knight f3 really cuts down on black's options to play something fun. So I don't want to play a6 necessarily, something really hyper modern, because it doesn't really have much, appropriateness. Let's play b5. This basically transposes to the Polish defense. I could play it straight away after d4, b5. There's really only one reason why I don't fully trust this setup for black. He played knight c3. This is an unusual move. Now, the reason I don't really trust this line that much is bishop g5. I played one game long ago in a serious tournament with b6, and after b6 bishop g5, I think white gets very good control of the center. But it should be pretty much the same thing after b5. I think that bishop g5 is strong, and that should give white some good chances to get an advantage. Basically, knight e4 isn't really that great here. So knight c3 is pretty strange. We have different options. I don't know, b4, playable considering it chases his knight away. More importantly, it would gain a tempo and get his knight out of the center. But I can save that for later. So I don't see anything wrong with playing like just a6 here. Maintaining my center. If I play b4, he's got knight a4. It's a tough call. Ominous Monkey saw you playing Justice Bot yesterday with some good games. Who are you talking to? Couldn't have been me. Who are you talking to? Who was playing Justice Bot? Alright, let's just make a decision. I have a tendency to get in really bad time pressure, especially against faster players like World Loser. He played a3. I mean, again, honestly, I would think that Bishop g5 would be a pretty strong move. Hereabouts. White's position is a little bit passive, the setup with a3. The knight on c3, I'm not sure that's necessarily great because he is blocking his c-pawn, though it's not that relevant against b5, I guess. So e6, nothing would be achieved by knight e4. It would be probably something like knight e4, knight takes e4, bishop takes e4. He could even play knight to d2 in that position. It's still hard for me to develop my king side. I played like many games with the St. George defense, e4 a6, and can't remember. It's my specialty defense against WGMs. e4 a6, but anyway, playing a lot of games with e4 a6 is something that helps me to play this kind of position. What's that? Oh, Mu Povach. I don't know how to say it. I see. He was playing Justice Bot. Okay, Justice Bot is a guy who comes to the stream sometimes. Another FIDE master who's very good in blitz. Alright, so bishop e7. We have bishop e7. Yeah, I think this is probably best. Just breaking the pin. And now, honestly, I should probably play for c5. Put pressure on his center. But I don't think that I should necessarily play it right away. If I play it right away, he can take, and then I have to take back and waste time. I'll just play knight d7. Knight d7, and then go from there. He played e4. It's fine. Maybe I should play h6 here. You know what? This is a lot like a kind of London system, but actually, if I play h6, it's kind of tricky. Where is he going? Knight d7, e5 is the only thing that concerned me there. We have some tricks, though. I don't think he can play e5 necessarily. Alright, let's just develop. I could play h6. I don't think he should go to h4. In the event of h6, he should play probably the bishop back on this diagonal, because play h6, bishop h4, knight h5 is a good trade for black. I don't really want him to play e5 here. So I don't know if you guys play a lot of e4, e5, but you can see this position is now very similar to the Roy Lopez in the structure. Basically, I'm playing a Zaitsev Lopez with black here after e5, which is something that's occasionally happening in the like Owen defense. That's why I voted early. I can have a drink now. Oh, you've got the election in the Netherlands. Okay. Well, we're not going to go into that on the stream. Try to avoid politics here as much as we can. It's about chess. Alright, so b4. Well, once again, I'd like to trade... Actually, this is probably a good spot to go for the exchange. h6, bishop h4, knight h5, bishop takes e7. Looks good, but actually I might drop material. That's good. There's a good thing and there's a bad thing. Like h6, bishop h4, knight h5, bishop takes e7, queen takes e7, knight takes e5, d takes e5. Queen takes e7, knight d5 is the problem. Bishop takes d5, pawn takes d5. Actually, doesn't look that bad for me. I mean, I could play knight h5, but let's just castle. All right, this is probably playable. Trading pieces, basically trading my bad bishop on e7. Strategically, it's a good plan for black. But here again, you know, maybe he should consider like just going back. Yeah. I don't know what I was thinking there. I mean, honestly, for b4, I don't really understand b4. Okay, he gets some space on the queen side, but it wouldn't be the first move I would play. Let's see. Well, this is the current position. I don't know. b4 is kind of a weird move for me. It seems like he weakens his queen side. I guess, you know, he could play a4. Then again, I could play c6. Exchanging on e5. Generally a mistake for white in this kind of position. Maybe improving the scope of my bishop on e7. So we try to talk about the strategy involved in the games here. The time control is long enough that it's more than just playing bullet chess and tactics. We can actually try to play a little bit of a quality game with this time control. Okay, now c5. It looks like we have a pretty good game. I mean, this should be okay, but how do I recapture on c5 if I play that way? A little bit tricky. The recapture, maybe I can be fancy. Play something like rook c8. We can be fancy here. I don't know. Rook c8 and recapture with the rook. Maybe. I mean, it's not necessary. I have a better idea, actually. All right, I've got to watch out for my e5 pawn, but there's some clues here. He's got some hanging pieces. Knight on c3 is unprotected. This piece will be unprotected if it captures on e5. So structurally, black is forcing an isolated pawn, probably on a3, c2. Just the b4 was kind of a strange move by him. Maybe he was concerned I was going to play b4. No, I mean, I can't play b4. I don't know. It's a strange move. Okay, rook b1. One thing I've got to watch out for, you know, sometimes you can play knight d5. Here it would lose a piece. Well, rook c8 was part of the plan anyway. I can play queen c7 as well, but that takes away this tactic, you know, with like knight d5, knight takes d5, and winning a piece. Lots of challenges on the Weird Wednesday. Yeah, it's yesterday and Monday we had kind of slow days, but lots of challenges today. It's a holiday here in Hungary. You guys probably have no clue about that, but today is the national holiday in Magyarország. And okay, for me it's really like kind of weird. I don't have any real, I don't identify with the national holiday since I'm not really a Hungarian, so it's always kind of strange. I'm just working. Most people are having like a kind of party day today. Is this real life? Soroche, what happened in the World Baseball Classic? The Netherlands beat someone good again. We're gonna play what? Bishop takes. Or knight takes. I guess knight takes, huh? Basically, his knight's hanging on c3. And, you know, this pawn will fall too. I think white is just totally lost. So, World Loser played kind of listlessly in this game. He didn't really have a plan. Didn't seem to adjust very well to the position. Maybe this is the only move. Knight d5. Alright. That's a good move. He's not giving up. I mean, I have a very, very strong outside passed pawn here. This is a monster, and it's, you know, got more behind it. I admit I missed rook takes. That I did not see, but probably it doesn't matter that much, does it? All right. I don't need this pawn right away. I don't need it at all, actually. I mean, I can win. I can give up my a3 pawn and be just a clear pawn up with a bishop pair, and oof. Two connected passed pawns. This is a strange move, rook h5. He's playing for mate. I thought he would go rook e3 and try to scoop this pawn on a3. All right. Just to be on the safe side, maybe I shouldn't waste time with this move. It'd be possible just to play a2. We're just two pawns up for nothing. Two bishops. Brag moment, you beat a GM. All right. How are we finishing him off here? Why is it so difficult to finish him off here? I don't know, but I'm just going to get my last piece in the game. When in doubt, improve your worst piece. Right, I mean, I guess he'll get a check. One check. Can't hurt me with one check. We're up a rook. Yeah, World Loser playing too fast, as is the case usually. We have a number of players who tend to play like it's bullet chess. Alright. This was an unfortunate choice, rook g3. Because here I can trade queens. There's also back rank threats he has to watch out for. So World Loser not in world class form today. Playing too fast. Wait, who beat the 5-year-old Carlsen? Oh, nice mouse slip, me. I meant to trade queens, obviously. It's a small miracle that my mouse slip doesn't lose by force. World Loser is a rook down with no compensation. But he has more time. That's the important thing. Basically, we're trying to play quality chess here. But sometimes people don't cooperate. Play a little too fast. This is actually a secret, sneaky attack. It's a sneak attack move. If he tries anything fancy, you know. I should probably play bishop takes f3. Nice arrow, me. Just trading pieces. But he has good practical chances here. Just kidding. I mean, what can I say? What to say? Rook down. I mean, I could understand if there was no increment, dude. But this is just kind of wasting time. We've been here before. Oh no. Okay, all right. Not a great game first off, but we're probably not warmed up yet. Bakus, take your time. Take your time, man. It's a long time control for blitz. 8+3. They call it classical. Let's not forget I'm supposed to try to play unusual openings. That was a kind of Polish defense, which I play, you know, by move order through the St. George sometimes. Once against Shandar Kushtar, I played knight f3, b5, but I don't really play the Polish defense seriously. So against d4 last time we played, I think we're going to face the same thing again. He also plays knight f3. I don't know, I'm going to have to come up with a new idea here. I mean, it's hard to play an unusual move on move 1. I can play b5, a6, c5, perhaps c5. But I'm trying to play the Budapest Gambit. Nobody will let me play it. The problem is, how do I play an unusual opening here after this d4 knight f3? They're doing it to me again. You know, you guys are not really playing in the spirit of the stream here. You know, if I don't play an unusual opening, you're supposed to try to help to play an unusual, something unusual. But, you know, the London system, a la Magnus Carlsen, with like d4, knight f3, bishop f4, is not an unusual opening. I know that the onus is on me to play unusual openings, but in keeping with the theme of the day, you know, the routine d4, knight f3, bishop g5, this is the opposite of unusual openings. This is like the most standard opening you can play. So now what do we do? What we can do is try to transpose to a Mexican defense, but I don't know that I can do it here. Yeah, I mean, knight c6 probably just isn't really right in this position. Knight c6, d5, knight b4 doesn't look good for black to me. It doesn't look quite right. It would just be a bad opening. I think this. I'm not trying to play unsound openings. So now what do? We're stuck. We could play d5 and then try to find something, but he's going to play like the London system. You know, what am I going to do? The London system, it's impossible to play an unusual opening against that. And I don't want to play garbage, you know, like AH6 or something. I mean, what am I going to play? C5. If C5, he's going to play something really tame, like E3 or C3. So I'm open to ideas here. A hedgehog, but you can't play the hedgehog unless we play C4 and E4. We played B5 last game. What can we do? If I play D6, it's just going to be like a London system. Racking my brains to think of something we could do here. I should have realized the Bakus would play this like the last opponent and played something unusual on move 1 just to not let him get there. All right. This time is well spent. I really need to think of something here. What are we gonna do? G6 is just a standard kind of position. Again, knight C6 I don't like. It's probably just a bad move because of D5. Knight C6, D5, knight B4, knight C3. I don't know, actually, that's kind of weird. It might not be that bad. I think, though, it's not really correct for black. Alright, guys. What am I going to do? You know, there's nothing I can do to make an unusual opening here. We try, but we have the National Chess Magazine, but other than that, mainly matches against other clubs get documented for the website. Crusader of Hope, where's that? Railbird 80, what's up? The Wild Bull Defense. I guess we can like forget about playing an unusual opening here. Let's play this Exchange Slav or something. Baku's just not really in the spirit of things. Alright, what am I gonna do? We could transpose to the C3 Sicilian. Now he needs to be able to play E4 for that. How does he play E4? Well, I'm eventually going to start moving faster here. I just wanted to play something fun, but we're not getting the opportunity to do so. Man, I don't know. All right. Basically, the ready reversed. It's not an unusual opening. We're not allowed to have any fun today. He's going to force his opening. Bakus, you're not understanding the spirit of things today. Alright, just for future reference, if we ever play Bakus again, we'll have to play D4 C5 or the Dutch defense or something on move 1. Because now I'm stuck playing the Reti, which is the Reti against the London system is totally ultra standard opening. Sorry about that, guys. Bishop D3 looks like a bad square for that piece. He can get in trouble there, as you may or may not see later on. The bishop should go to E2. Crusader of Hope, are you from the Netherlands too? Okay. But let me ask a question, you guys. Not to be on a political subject, but how is today like a voting day? It's not like a holiday in the Netherlands or something, is it? Is it just a normal work day? I mean, that's how it works in the United States. We don't have like a special holiday for voting. I mean, you just vote like on the way to work or on the way home from work or something. I mean, it's not like everybody has a day off or something, right? Alright, guys. An ultra boring position. I hate the London system. This is a very bad move by white. Giving up your central pawn on D4 for absolutely no good reason. I'm taking back with the B pawn or the knight. This is a little more compact than taking back with the B pawn, but I think in principle taking back with the B pawn is okay as well. I hope I didn't blunder something here. I didn't really take bishop B5 check too seriously. Perhaps I should have. It may have been better to take with the B pawn after all. It's bringing another pawn toward the center. Alright. Welcome everyone to my channel. I also have a YouTube, my stream. I also have a YouTube channel, Video Chess Training on YouTube, where I try to upload all the streams from here and also create some independent material for your chess betterment. Knight C, D7 is more safe. Yeah, you're right. I like my knight on c5 too much to pull it back, but objectively maybe. But anyway, I mean, it would have been better just to take with the b pawn, not allow this. Probably. You know, on the other hand, I guess his bishop is sort of stupidly placed on b5 ultimately, so unless he has some kind of tactics here. You know, I don't recommend white play like b4. It's very tempting to do that, but I don't think it's a good idea. It would weaken his pawns too much. Now knight b3. He gave up this treasure of his position, really, the d4 pawn. You know, that's a monster. You know, you don't want to trade that guy off, basically, under normal circumstances. Here, now, again, he's like hunting exchanges. I don't want to trade this bad knight on b3. I talk about this all the time. If you guys watch the stream regularly, knights on knight 3 are usually badly placed. It only controls one central square. Not as bad as a knight on the rim on a3 or a4 or something, but these are overrated. Knights on knight 3 tend to be overrated by people. Think they're like in a good position. A lot of amateurs think the knight on knight 3 is in a good position, but basically it's not in a good position. Alright, let's get more pieces developed here. Queen d3. The queen looks a little exposed on that square. But what can I do? Knight c5. I don't know. I've really got to pay closer attention to this bishop on b5. He is attacking the knight. I've got to stay in touch with that piece. Again, another player who's playing too fast. Baku's with 5 minutes. Now, what's up? What did that do? Trading a bishop in a semi-open position probably shouldn't be done for a knight. Just, you know, in the vacuum, it's probably a bad exchange. Not a closed position. So the bishop's probably the better piece. I think this is a strange exchange. You guys, I have an old book called The American Chess Player's Handbook in my chess library at home in the United States. It's from like 1925, and I like to collect old chess books. I'm not really a collector, but I have some, and if I see them, I pick them up. And you know, I used to like to go into like used bookstores and scrounge around for like old chess books. And anyway, I have this one book, a couple copies of it actually, hoping that someday it'll be worth something. But so this American Chess Player's Handbook is interesting because it's like a primer, you know, teaching people how to learn the game. And what's up here? We have ideas. So the queen is very mobile here on d7. This is an interesting square. Basically, this American Chess Player's Handbook, maybe it was by Stoughton, actually. That doesn't seem right, though. Why would Stoughton write a book called The American Chess Player's Handbook? Strange. Maybe it was Stoughton, though. Anyway, it's calculate here now. d5. I don't have to play d5 though. I mean, maybe a simpler move like rook c8, developing a piece. Baku's is playing badly here. He has no plan. He's just making random moves. But I still don't have any any way to beat him. We're better, but we're not winning. Maybe d5 was the secret there. I probably could have won the exchange for a pawn. That's unfortunate. Anyway, to make a long story short, the American Chess Player's Handbook, what I wanted to say was, sorry for getting lost in the conversation. it gives a little chart in the beginning about, like, you know, how much the value of the pieces are. And it's just funny because they considered the bishop to be worth 3.5. Knights were worth 3, bishops 3.5 pawns, 3.5 pawns. It didn't say 0.5. They didn't use decimal points in like 1925 or 1930, whenever the book was written. But it's just funny that, like, bishops were officially, by like the experts, considered to be worth more than knights, you know, like 3.5 pawns. It's kind of funny. And now we know that it's not exactly the case. Alright, did we finally drop material? Well, he finally dropped material in his search to win on time. Yeah, this e5 has been waiting to happen. I mean, typically the white will tuck that bishop back on h2 at some point. But I think earlier I missed d5 when I played rook c8. Rook c8. This position, I probably have d5 followed by bishop a6 there. I was being greedy, basically. I wanted to try to win like the whole exchange, not like just an exchange for a pawn, which would happen after like d5, knight d2, bishop a6, queen takes d5. Actually, it was probably just a really bad calculation by me. I would probably win a piece there. So knight d6 now, knight b5 here. Please don't let my queen get trapped. Right, but we're just going to try to keep it simple. I don't want to see knight takes d6. So that's it. That's a piece for, like, maximally a pawn. I mean, this is lost for white. And we've got 14 seconds with 3-second increments, so it's basically fatal unless we hang something. Sorry guys, not too much time to chat here. Staunton wrote the Chess Player's Handbook. Not the American Chess Player's Handbook. Strange. Huh. Well, that's weird. I didn't know there was a difference. Like, who would know? But it's not the same book, are you sure? I was pretty sure it was Staunton. Like, who wrote the American Chess Player's Handbook then? You can Google that. But maybe it was some kind of copyright deal. I don't know. You know, who knows back in those days. But we're up a clear piece here. Funny. Technique time. Sorry for no unusual opening here, but it's really difficult to do that against the London system. What else can we do? Alright, just when you're up a piece, you know what? Just trade. This could be a little difficult to grind him down because we are backward along the d-file, and this bishop is passive. It's going to take some time to consolidate my position. But I mean, a piece is a piece, and eventually, you know, eventually we're going to free ourselves here. It's going to take a little while because he's got such great control of the center, you know, on d5 in particular. So just hang tight, and we're going to try to break out. A bad bishop is better than no bishop at all, you know. He's basically got a really good Sicilian endgame, but lost the bishop. I just want to calculate this Marazzi break here because he doesn't have any tricks. All right, yeah, this is strong. This basically is breaking out for me. You got our hedgehog now. This is the closest. Someone said hedgehog before. This is the closest we're going to get to a hedgehog in this game now. We'll just take back. This pawn's actually a little bit tender. I probably should have traded rooks there. in the spirit of what I said before, trading rooks, I should have traded pieces when I'm up a piece. So I made a mistake not capturing on c1, theoretically. But it's alright. Slowly the extra bishop will make itself felt, make its presence felt. I think it would be most valuable in an endgame where there's no other pieces on the board. Here, the less pieces on the board, the more valuable that extra bishop probably becomes. It's kind of like a pawn weakness, you know. An isolated pawn doesn't mean a whole lot in the middle game, but in the end game it might be decisive. We're always up a piece. He had a little bit of positional kind of compensation. Now we're really getting aggressive, you know. With this, we're very confident with this extra bishop, basically. It's going to come to life like Kalashnikov style with bishop g5, bishop f4. Bakus is running out of things to do here. He doesn't have an extra pawn or anything to compensate for the bishop, so it's basically he's toast. The hostess with the toastess. Alright. Lots of challenges. Wow. Povach is next, then Periode, Constant Change, Mule Skinner, Abaraba, Girl of Chess. And then we've got some new guys. I really ask people to have like 50 games. So if you have a provisional rating, I might not accept your challenge. And Fluke needs to change his challenge to like A+3. We're probably not going to be able to play more than the current challenges though, guys. I mean, we have less than 2 hours. And the games can take as long as like almost 20 minutes. So let's get on with the game with Povach. FIDE Master from Serbia. Alright, normally I can play anything, but this is a special stream where I do unusual openings. So, you know, it's not just about winning and losing. It's about how you play the game. No, I'm just kidding. It's about playing something that I normally wouldn't play. So I don't want to necessarily... You know, it's not, my main goal isn't to win. I want to have an opening here that's interesting. So, let's see. If I play e4, we'll start with e4. We'll go from there. I could play an unusual move on the first move, like f4. Povach played the Scandinavian, which is pretty standard, actually. I mean, it's almost like a standard opening. I play a lot of Scandinavians, or have in the past. You know, I'm not going to advocate like something really stupid like knight f3. I mean, let's see if we can just try something I've done before. Actually, I don't know what he plays here, so... Okay, cool. Now, at least here I can play this line I've played before, which is unusual, rook b1. Grandmaster Jan Elvest played this in a tournament I was at, and I was always kind of experimenting with this move in occasional blitz games. Just something a little bit out of the ordinary to kind of take people out of book. And Elvest, in the original game, he was successful. I've seen a couple games with this, but it's pretty rare. I mean, the b4 pawn sacrifice, I think that b4 exists as like a pawn sacrifice, if I'm not mistaken, as well. Should probably look at that, but I doubt that that's really sound. So Jan beat a very solid Filipino IM in the one game where, you know, I saw him play this. It's nothing earth-shaking, but at least it gets an interesting position, you know, something a little bit out of the ordinary. Now, I'm pretty sure that in the game, White played... I want to say White played g3, but I'm not so sure about that now. It would be nice to play like g3, bishop g2, kind of thematic pressure on the long diagonal. b5 right away. I don't think so. I don't think that Jan played that way. Now I can't remember. I mean, he may have just played knight f3. It was repeated in a couple of games. I mean, I don't know where he got the idea from. Who knows? You know, he probably got it from someone else. But probably some old game that no one knows about, you know. Let's see. Was it G3 he played? I mean, G3's got to be fine. But it seems to me I didn't play G3 last time. I probably just developed normally with like Knight F3. He doesn't have anything like really... He doesn't really have good control of D4, so I don't have to feel like there's a knight... The square feels kind of weak. That's what I'm trying to say, you know, here. And, you know, I don't really want to play like D4 and B4. We're not going to play D4 mostly. Not going to play D4, B4. I mean, it's too much weakness, my position. G3, Knight F6, Bishop G2, for example. Let's just play Knight F3 and decide what we're going to do, depending on what he does. Okay, so Knight F6. I don't want to play like a routine setup. You know, I don't think it's really necessarily right here. I'm not sure though if Jan played B5. You know, he may have played it quite early. So we could go ahead and do that. Maybe too early here though. I don't know. I'm actually a little concerned about black playing like knight to d5. Paschall here seems like he's playing quickly, not really caring too much about this unusual opening. And b5, knight d5, pawn takes c6, knight takes c3, pawn takes b7. It's interesting. G3 is also possible. This is kind of a random move. But I don't want to play a structure based on d4 here. So we're probably going to play d3 no matter what. It's okay. It's probably not a bad move. Not sure that this was best though. I was thinking about g3, but this kept bothering me. This knight to d5, and now I could meet it with something like bishop d2. I guess that's why I played d3. You know, I can deal with knight d5 without taking on d5 and like helping his position basically. That's kind of what I was thinking. But ultimately, I don't know. Whatever. It's a position. It's a little bit unusual. It's probably about equal right now. b4 looks a little weakening. Perhaps I should just play b5 straight away. You know, perhaps I shouldn't mess around. Maybe just b5 immediately instead of knight f3. You know, not giving him time for like knight f6, knight d5. You know, on the other hand, maybe I panicked. Like, I had some interesting possibilities. Knight d5, maybe rook b3, like b5, knight d5, rook b3. Didn't occur to me till now, but that would be a kind of cool way to play the position. If he tried knight d5, play rook b3, make use of my open rook, recapture with a rook on c3 if he tried to trade knights, for example. So I guess d3 is pretty weak actually. Pretty weak, weakening, not necessary. Like how he took my idea. What are the chances of that? You know, now we kind of lost our mojo. It looks like. Maybe I should just take it. But I don't like the backwardness in my position here. E5. That's aggressive, but it's also like a pawn he has to be... It's a pawn he has to be kind of responsible for. Responsibility. It's like land ownership. I made this analogy yesterday. Why don't I play B5 here? Actually, you know what? Does that make sense or not? Kind of, sort of makes some sense. I hope it's okay. It's like a really strange Steinitz defense with colors reversed, where I played like B4, B5. Like I played E4, E5, D3, and played the Steinitz or Philidor, like exchange variation, and then randomly played B4, B5. I don't know. It's a position. It's like got to be okay for black, but hopefully I'm not worse. I guess today is the B pawn theme. We played the Polish defense in one game. Now we're playing B4, B5 randomly. Not really sure. If he takes on C3 and takes on B5, we're taking on E5 with tempo. Then he moves his queen. Play like Queen D2. It's unclear. We don't have to play Queen D2. I guess we could play Knight D2 there. Take, 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 check. Actually C3 there. This is a weird move, Bishop B4. Very forcing. Any kind of sort of exchange sacrifices, anybody? Take Knight E4. Want to try it? I don't think so. It doesn't look like we have too much here. We're probably like microscopically worse. Knight takes is interesting though. Kind of playing it like a Benoni. Maybe that's better. Because I'm just going to get attacked and stuff. Knight takes, pawn takes, C4, for example. A lot of dark square weaknesses in my position. Queen takes. Maybe queen takes and G3. Castles, bishop G2. Well, what am I doing? Alright, that's the best, probably. Played like a Benoni. Number 5, please. Rook B3, no. Kidang says, I think I played every opening that exists. I'm sure if I would be higher rated if I didn't get restless and change my opening every week. You know what? I probably suffered from that too. I also played a lot of silly openings because I was just kind of bored, and I don't think that did a lot for my rating, for example. So FIDE Master Paschall seems like a very practical player. We've got typical kind of Benoni going on here. Reverse Benoni if you like. Not sure about this. Okay, h3 can't be bad. It slightly weakens my pawn structure. I'm surprised he took right away. I thought he should provoke g4 with bishop h5 there. He has a concrete plan. I mean, my c2 pawn is pretty bad, admittedly. We're gonna keep him tied down to this guy, and he's got pressure on my pawn over here. So looks like we have bishop g4 maybe as an idea. Maybe we can just double. Then I start to watch out for. I have to watch out for my pawn falling. I think objectively, it's pretty close. His structure is a little bit better. I guess he can set up on the dark squares. Yeah, maybe he's just better here. I could play for f4 though. Ultimately, you know, this is a standard Benoni plan. I think he overlooked bishop g4 though. Fojnem. I overlooked something. Alright, yeah, that's good to know. Alright. Never mind. Now we're probably in trouble. And we need to be very careful. I guess he didn't overlook anything. Threatening my pawn. Well, I can't just drop it, so I don't mind like giving up the rooks. You know, he could get mated here with two rooks and bishop playing pretty well. Nice tripled on my guy. He looks like he weakened himself a little bit with f5 though. Actually, what do I do here? Ay, ay, ay. Well, he took there. It's unclear, though, because his e5 pawn is weak. We're taking b7. We have a very dangerous pawn here on the queen side. This is kind of messy. I don't know what's going on. Chances for both sides, but bishop c6. Like most people, he plays faster than me. But fast is, in itself, is not enough. You have to play. Oh, he has a tactic? No. We won a pawn. Looks like we won a pawn here, so we stand. Famous last words. Maybe not. He did not win a pawn. We've got to go here. Okay, I'm not sure. Not sure I had a choice, really. Tactics, anybody? What's going on here? His knight is sort of dominated. Semi-trapped. Their bishop g2. I think white stands better with outside pass pawn. Well, this move's probably a mistake. No, maybe. Why not? Why is this a mistake, actually? Because of that. Yeah, that's a problem. Very irritating. He found this. I really screwed this up. I'm still a little bit better, but if I played a different order of moves, I probably would be basically almost winning. Guess we're not even better now. We were basically like winning. It's really sad. Just dropped the pawn on the queen side. Just looks like a draw now. There's nothing else to do. This is a theoretical draw. It's pretty easy, but we know that. He knows that, but still, you know, he has a right to play it out. There's no way to make progress. As long as I'm in front of the pawn, he doesn't have a way to get his king in actively. Okay. Interesting game. It was kind of back and forth. I thought I was worse in the opening. Then he was really close to even losing when I had bishop against knight and outside pawn. But at the end, he was better. So, messy game. Thanks for the game. Anna Nass is next. It's 8+3 and weird openings. Let's not forget. Sometimes after a tough game, I forget we're doing a weird opening stream. So, I see I lost against William yesterday because my bishop on c2. Okay, that's very specific, and I don't remember. Anna Nass, the Catalan expert with white. All right, what are we playing? I haven't had good score with f4 really, have I? Sometimes I try to play that. Let's try something here. play e4 and then find something unusual to do, like last game. Yeah, French defense is tough. I like queen e2. Recently, one of my students was suggesting that it's probably better to play this a move later. You know, play like... What was it? Maybe knight f3. That doesn't make sense. I mean, the point of queen e2 here... Oh, I know. It must have been like they suggested to play d3 and then queen e2 if d5. That's still... It doesn't quite make full sense to me, you know. This is an independent variation. It was played by Chigoren. And I've actually always enjoyed playing this line with white. I believe he was completely losing instead of moving rook b2 at a5, a6, and b6. Yeah, there was some reason why I mistakenly thought he could get behind my pawn or something if I played a5, b6. But it's very possible that I misevaluated. But I was lucky, kind of lucky, to get a winning position. I mean, it was really anybody's game earlier. I think that game changed. The advantage changed hands like 5 times, probably. Which isn't really unusual for a blitz or fast game. At the end, I'm happy to hold on. I don't think I was ever completely lost. But it wasn't really pleasant. Yeah, c5, ananas is good against queen e2. Alright, so we've got to play a kind of big clamp formation for white. Let's play g3 and then decide what to do based on what he does. You know, if d5, we just take, probably. It's not the only option, though. I mean, you can play other stuff. We had a game like 3 weeks ago, I think, in this line against, I don't know if it was Muleskin or somebody else, but we had an interesting game. Queen e2 is no secret, you know. I mean, this is probably like covered in all French defense books, but I think it's really a good way to play against like amateurs, you know, who typically like they memorize opening moves but don't really understand the ideas, strategic play. You know, just get them out of book, and against players like that who are really booked up, but don't understand chess as well as you. This is probably a good type of thing to play against someone like that. Now, last time I played this position, I was thinking that, you know, what's interesting is I can allow knight d4 because, you know, sometimes the knight actually just gets kicked right out again. So we don't have to reflexively play c3. You know, that's something I would have done in the past, but, you know, thinking about it logically, it's really not necessary and probably not best, you know, to commit to c3. Although it is a typical idea in this big clamp type of structure, you know, like c3, g3, knight a3, knight c2, f4. It's all interrelated, but the move order, it's not necessary to play c3 right away, probably. But I think bishop g2, you know, you might play occasionally like a bishop h3 in some situations. That's one reason I might not commit to bishop g2 right away, but f4. Yeah, that's actually the last time we played this. We got in one of these f4, f5 type of pawn sacrifices. I remember now. These 22 amateurs, I didn't mean like he's an amateur, but I'm talking about amateurs in general. You know, people who are like 1600, 1700, average rating, you know. Maybe that's a little above the average in terms of all chess players, but for rated players, I guess the average rating is around 1600. Let's just say there are a lot of people who know openings. They memorize them from books, but their strategic understanding isn't that good. Against that type of player, Queen E2 is a good way to play. You can just play chess and get them out of their comfort zone. Yeah, I don't fear knight d4. I think that's just going to lose time for black in the long run. So, how should I set up, though? I may have to play c3 eventually anyway. However, this knight f3 feels more natural to me now. We have a very natural formation, typical closed Sicilian. Basically, nothing special happened here. c3. We don't have f5. Wasting a lot of time on the clock. His bishop is very strong. The problem with c3, although it blocks his bishop, it's no magic panacea, that makes my position easy to play. Why do we have a text message now? It's Wednesday. Someone's calling me. That's really annoying. All right. The same guy always calls me, when I'm doing a live stream. I have to hang up on him. Last week he called me the exact same time. He must be on a timer or something. Always calls between 11 and 11:45. All right, castles. He'll understand that I can't talk now. I don't think you guys want to hear about arranging a meeting in Hungarian. Castles. I don't know what to do here. Knight a3 maybe. Where would my knight be going ultimately? Yeah, I have to be honest with everybody. I don't really feel comfortable with this position. Don't really feel comfortable here. I'm going to need to play c3 or knight c3 sooner or later. But I'm probably going to need to play d3 almost no matter what. So we can just play d3, I guess. This position's kind of lame. It's basically a King's Indian attack for white. But I think he's played a good move order. And b5, that's provocative and creative. I was expecting d5, but there's certainly many ways to play this position. b5 makes a lot of sense. Why not? Now knight c3, knight d1. a3 would serve probably just to weaken my position. c3 also weakens my position. Alright, let's try this. We're basically playing a very standard sort of closed Sicilian, but it feels like we wasted some tempi or something somehow. Or he's conserved tempi by not even moving his d-pawn. Alright. I'm not a closed Sicilian player. I played years ago. I used to play sometimes, but I got over my closed Sicilian period very long time ago. Now he's delayed d5, d6 so long. I'm tempted to play e5 now. It's probably not a bad idea here. Let's go for it. Not necessarily the best move, but it's a standard move in a closed Sicilian. He's delayed the d-pawn maybe a little bit too long. b5 is pretty fancy. I think it wasn't a bad move. Now knight f5. Okay. Looks like you're losing the c5 pawn. What's the deal with that? Just knight takes and queen f2, right? But technically this piece is defended, so I guess he can play anything he wants to here. Anyway, this is the best square for my queen in any case, probably. Maybe he could have played like d6 instead or something like that, but the long diagonal looks kind of dangerous in the event of d6. I think Ananas had a good position. Maybe b5 was too fancy, but it still probably was okay if he just plays a normal move. Although now, maybe it was already a problem after knight e4. Maybe he already has problems there. Okay, e5. I guess there he has to do something immediately, like d6. He just waited too long, you know. I wouldn't have played b5 personally. I'm not sure that it's necessarily bad, but you know, I've let this kind of thing happen before with black, you know, myself, and I know that this can be very nasty if white locks you out, you know, with e5. And I mean, e5 is a typical idea in the closed Sicilian. Spassky did that all the time, like e5 levering the c5 pawn. That's kind of usually that's happening with the pawn on d6, and we play e5. We give you the e5 pawn in exchange for the c pawn, and sometimes white gets the initiative. But now he's basically just like lost the pawn for nothing. We could trade queens here. I'm not really sure that's the right idea, though. What is the right idea here? To win the game, perhaps winning the game is a good idea. But maybe g4? Is that too fancy? A little bit. If I don't play it, though, he can play probably h5 and stop me. I don't know. Okay, guys, we have just a minute, so I have to try to be practical. I could play knight d7 and trade queens. That actually might not have been a bad move. I think I forgot that after knight d7, queen takes queen, king takes queen. I forgot he can't play, or I didn't see he can't play rook c8 because of knight b6 forking his rooks. So he'd have to play a passive rook move like rook d8, and then white just is like a clear pawn up. Probably should still do it. And then, I don't know, maybe rook takes is better than king takes, actually, because it defends laterally. And not to put my king on the f file. You know, that could open up. We're clear pawn up. Technically winning position. His bishop is bad. So I don't necessarily want to win that prize. I could play knight f6 check, actually. Maybe that just leaves my knight on an awkward square, though. Yeah, it would have been strong, actually. Knight f6. He has to take, and then knight c8. Maybe it's not that clear. Let's see here. What's up with this position now? d4. d4. Shutting him in. That's a good idea. Let's overprotect. What should I do here? Bishop d2 is interesting. Guarding these squares. I've got to be fast. I'd like to play a4 at some point, but he can close the lines with b4, so I can't just rush it. We have to be prepared prepare, and kind of improve our position a little bit. Okay, interesting. Bishop f1. Now we've gotten him to weaken his structure. I guess this should be good for me. And we're not only a pawn up. It feels like black's kind of overextended on the queen side. So the a file, because his bishop is so awkward on a8, he can't like double rooks. It's a good move though. No, this rook b8 was a good idea. I wish I could double my rooks on the a file right about now. Funk soul brother. Wow, this is logical. All right. Getting all right. Got to be careful that we don't get our knight on there undermined. Takes knight b4. He's cagey and he's hanging on, and he's got some counterplay here. He's got 2 minutes to my 7 seconds with increment. Wonderful. We should really play f5 at some point. I mean, strategically, f5 would be a really good idea. I'm not sure I have it because of tactical reasons. Maybe bishop e3 over protecting c5 is not a bad idea around here. Connecting my rooks. Alright, whatever. Once again, I'm not that interested in that bishop. He's just like moving fast, but I don't think he seems to have any kind of plan. Really nice defense, though. This seems like a strange square to put my king on. Okay, we might be able to play for f5. I think he's just kind of weakening his king side. So he's escaping. Can run, but you can't hide. Alright, man. Tough defense, but it was kind of torturous. Maybe you have some kind of exchange sacrifice at some point. You could try. Not easy, though. So, lots of tough players. Constant Change, Mule Skinner, Abaraba. And then Girl of Chess, Dumb Saint, Milan Kirai. I'm going to try to play as many challenges as we can. We have about an hour left, though. So I think it's only going to be around 4 games at this rate. You guys can also challenge me to a faster time control. You don't have to play 8-3. It's up to you. I know a lot of people like to play fast. So it's not obligatory. We're going to go with our old love, the St. George defense for Weird Wednesday. I certainly haven't played this against Constant Change in a long time, so I don't think he's got like a stock line prepared. I think I played this probably against him sometimes in the past, long ago, but lately I haven't been playing the St. George defense. Even on Weird Wednesdays, I've been going with other stuff typically. I think we definitely played an Owen defense against him sometime in the. I'm selecting random, yet it's always giving you black. Yeah, I am black all the time lately, for some reason. Guys, please check out my YouTube channel, Video Chess Training on YouTube. And I want to thank people who have supported the stream via PayPal. Your donations are really generous. Bishop d3 with knight f3. I'd like to play bishop d3, queen e2. But I guess there's nothing really concrete I can do. Nothing special I can do for black here. I mean, knight f6 or... It doesn't really matter. I mean, knight f6... Actually, knight f6 e5 might be good for white. You know, probably I shouldn't play that so early. Knight f6 e5. In this particular formation might be alright. Normally you don't want to play e5 prematurely, but it's probably not bad for him. Maybe I should develop, you know, in a more balanced way, like queen side and king side. c5 is standard. Of course, knight f6 is standard too. Alright, let's play c5. Owen's defense, St. George defense. These things are... Now I feel better about knight f6 like knight d5. He's not going to play c4 with tempo. Doesn't really inconvenience him though. This move order may have been a mistake by me. Will you play Extreme the yearly blitz tourney? Soroche, when is that? Now knight c6. Letting him get in like rook e1. Normally white has to play either queen e2 or knight bd2. I'm not sure that my move order was altogether the best. I'm not really sure what I could have done wrong though. This is a hyper aggressive move. It always depends on the exact situation. I'm going to play knight e7. Oftentimes this is done with like the queen on e2. But his move order seems very accurate for someone who hasn't played this in a long time. Bishop d3, rook e1. Yeah, e5. This is a strong move, d5 here. Probably I should have played cd first. Yeah, why didn't I play like c takes d and then knight c6? Actually, if I play c takes d, then knight c6, he has knight c3, knight b4, and I don't have anything. So I don't know what was better, honestly. Maybe my early move order was bad. When I was talking about it, you know, with bishop d3, I should probably play knight f6 first. And you know, live with it. If he plays e5, I play knight d5. I don't know, that just seems kind of strange to me. Interesting move order. This may be a good move order for white. So it seems like white has an advantage here. Okay, this is a risky opening for black. It's not really sound. I mean, objectively, a6 is a kind of dubious opening. You know, we can't try to pretend that it's correct. It's pretty incorrect on paper. In a practical game, though, I've had very good results. I've only lost once. A tense game against Josh Friedel, who is a GM, and all the other players I played this against, I've either won or I've won most of the games, other than the game I lost against Friedel. I probably have like 3 or 4 or 5 scalps with black. I mean, it just doesn't tend to be a draw when you play this type of opening. I mean, it tends to be like white overextends themselves and losing, or like you get crushed. Against Friedel, I like ended up sacrificing a pawn on the queen side, and I got like some compensation, and the game was very, very tense, but I ended up losing. He's a strong player, though. I don't know what came into me. I think I had a few beers before the game or something, and decided to play the St. George. Josh was just an IM at the time, though. I don't think he was a GM when I lost that game. Knight e7. So the yearly blitz is in 6 hours and 30 minutes. I'll probably play some games, but there's no way I can, I can play like the whole thing. Well, it's not a marathon, right? How many hours is it? Alright, so positions always get like super, super weird. After d6. That makes this opening fun. It seems that I have no bishop on f8. You know, if he plays e5. But, it's a complicated game because ultimately I have f6. That's what everything kind of hinges on. So we have another move here, knight g4. Actually, we have other moves. No, we don't. I was thinking c4. Okay, don't get crazy with me. But this fishing pole idea should be examined more carefully. We're threatening bishop takes f3 there. We also have stuff like c4 and queen b6. So knight g4. Can he trap my knight or something? I mean, knight g4 threatens bishop takes f3, followed by knight takes e5. Doesn't have bishop f4. He doesn't have queen e2. If he loses his e5 pawn, his whole position falls apart. And we also have queen coming out the diagonal. Bishop g5. Knight g4, bishop g5, I guess queen c8 there. When it's difficult to find something for white other than bishop takes g6, which might be good enough. Knight g4, bishop takes g6 is the other move. H takes g6. But I mean, ultimately, looks a bit dangerous for black. I mean, everything's dangerous for black. Getting out of bed in the morning is dangerous. Knight g4 or knight d5. That's what we're talking about here. There's nothing else to discuss. So knight g4, bishop g5. Queen b6 is out because of what? Why is it out? Well, after knight g4, I guess the problem is if I play bishop g5, queen b6, he has like h3, and I don't have bishop takes f3, queen takes f3 because my rook is hanging on a8. That's the problem. I'll have two pieces hanging. Knight g4 can turn it against me with lines discovering on my hanging knight on g4. So knight d5 is much safer, but doesn't put any pressure on his center. That's the real question. All right. Looks too precarious to play knight g4 to me. This knight, I think just bad things are going to happen. You know, it's going to get kicked back to h6. It's going to get weird. This is more solid. Yes, white is better, but we can undermine him with f6. You know, and I think that's hard to stop. It really is hard to stop. What's he going to do? Like queen c2? Or how's he going to stop me from playing f6 here? Which is a huge breakout move for black. We can even put our king on f7 in a lot of positions. We also have knight f4. No, I think knight g4 was like a tempting move, but probably really bad. We'll see in the final analysis. Maktoum Dubai. Thank you, my dear friends. Very kind of you to say such things. Fortunate enough not to worry about money. Knight to d5. It'd be nice to just play chess and not worry about money. Knight to d5. Feels like white's better, but you know, he's extended himself with d6 and e5. This is a lot of real estate to keep, you know, protected. This move is key. You know, f6. Oftentimes the white position kind of falls apart. His queenside remains undeveloped. So as scary as it seems, these positions often turn around very quickly for black. Black can quickly gain the advantage. If he loses the base of his center, basically, his strong point, then the d6 pawn will fall and he'll be down 2 pawns. So he has to be careful to maintain the center. But one would imagine that white should be okay here, but what's the next move? That's the problem. Like, hard to decide what to do. a4, bishop e4. Knight d2 looks kind of awkward, but it might be fine. I mean, I have knight f4 threatening in some positions. Okay, so a4 now. c4 is tempting, but it's inflexible. Queen b6 should be considered. I need to get in f6. Maybe we just play c4 and f6. I don't know. f6 needs to be played ASAP. But I probably can't afford to drop this pawn. Queen b6. This is really not easy to decide. I don't know. I'm just choosing moves at random almost. Wow, Queen A5 now. That was a surprise. Okay. You rarely see A5 in this kind of position. That's unusual. Queen C6, Bishop E4. I didn't really like that. I'll probably have to waste a move. He'll get a useful move for free, basically. But A5 is totally unexpected. It's really random. I mean, the position is kind of random now. We need to play F6 to break out. I can castle queenside. Actually, now the queenside's semi-closed, it's not totally out of the question to castle queenside. But in general, white space advantage would make me not want to do that. However, with well, B3, this is surprising. So he's trying to play C4, looks like. Or trying to stop me from playing that. He's got a lot of space. Bishop E4. And I should really play C4. I just don't think I can afford it. F5 here. And I'll never have a bishop if I do that. What am I talking about? I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm talking a lot of nonsense here. Okay. My bishop will get out eventually. He's actually in worse time pressure than me. Sacked a piece. Wow. Okay, this was obviously not on the radar. Takes, rook takes. Alright, you're going to have to show me. Okay, he's really, really low on time. Now what? Yeah, I have no idea what's going on here. Well, that's a knight that's hanging. Oh my god. I didn't see it. One would assume I have enough pieces to protect my king around here. But as my friend Benamiki says, one can never knows. One can never knows. Bishop takes d6. We're up a couple pieces. He never did really get the queenside going on. Subtle threat. Everything's protected. We're walking away slowly with our hands up. And he's down. He's down some figuras. But he's still fighting. Don't like that. I don't like that what you're trying to do there, buddy. He mouse slip. Okay, no take backs with 5 seconds left. All right, not really a beautiful game, but it was a fun game. It was an unusual opening. We qualified. We've got time for 3 more challenges at least. So this game, Abaraba Girl of Chess, at the minimum. Let's play f4 against Mule Skinner. I think he should have played h4, h5, trying to expose the knight on g6. The knight on g6. You're better than 100% of chess players. 100% of blitz players. Yeah, it's the 1% is pretty exclusive. Good job. I don't think I've gotten that high yet. I think I could, but you got to work at it. Knight f3. It's our moderator's favorite opening, the Birds opening. Basically a Dutch in reverse. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I've played f4 on move 1. I think I've played some games with f4 on move 1, but very few. There was one in particular that I lost, like f4, d5, b3, trying to play like Emanuel Lasker and Nimzovich. I lost a very painful game once, and after that it kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. In a Bird Larson. I mean, basically, I should probably play the Leningrad. I mean, if we're going to play the Birds opening. But I feel like I'm just playing the closed Sicilian. You know, every time I play the Leningrad, or anytime I play the Birds opening, I just end up feeling like I'm playing the closed Sicilian. I just haven't played e4 yet. I guess that's basically like all it is. The Birds opening is just another closed Sicilian. No, I'm just kidding. It's not really, because, well, kind of similar. You're better than 100. This is your 10th f4 opening. What do you mean 1-9? You're counting? I remember losing to I lost to Kyrgios once. Was that the only one I lost or something? I don't like to castle too fast because black can do like crazy stuff, you know. So usually I would prefer to make a central move. Oh, excuse me. He's not really set up for that, though. I mean, to be fair, that's something like white does with like knight c3, h5, h4, rook takes h4. With the knight on f6, that plan probably isn't. You can castle there. I mean, it's fine. If you guys, it's not realistic, you know, to play h5, h4 with knight on f6. Probably, it's not really realistic to do it with black. With white, it's a dangerous line. With colors reversed in the Dutch, it's a dangerous line. Yeah. Okay, this is a very quiet approach. My friend, International Master David Vigorito, he had a very good score with this, using this with white against some Dutch players. It looks very innocuous, but like basically black should play like b5, a5, b4, a4 to like take all the space on the queen side as fast as possible. And it's similar to a King's Indian, like King's Indian attack. These people that my friend David would play, like, they just sort of underestimated it. You know, they were thinking, oh, that's lame. You know, e3, that's not dangerous. So black, you know, kind of sneaks up on you if you're not careful in this kind of position. But once again, I'm talking about like the Dutch defense, not the Birds opening. So that's like an extra tempo that makes it a little bit more dangerous. I'm talking about openings in terms of looking at them with colors reversed. Black can't play quite as aggressively as if he was white in a Dutch. This move is the best square for that bishop to go to. I don't want to play bishop d6. You know, he doesn't want to do that because of e4, e5. Alternatively, black could delay the knight, you know, and play like bishop d6 and knight e7. That's another kind of King's Indian attack defensive setup. Alright, well, this particular opponent loves closed positions, and there's basically no way to to avoid it against him. Maybe if I played, when I play, yeah, there's no way to avoid closed positions against Mule Skinner, more or less. So, sigh. Queen e1. Maybe knight c3 is interesting. It's certainly not a bad move. Knight a3. With knight a3, I feel like I'm playing on the queen side. You know, I feel like I'm playing on his side. I'm a King's Indian player, you know, so when I see the Dutch, I usually play the Leningrad setup, and I'm playing it like it's a King's Indian. And I think that these positions, the King's Indian and the Dutch Leningrad, are basically like interrelated openings. It's a family of openings where you're fianchettoing. You can think of the Dutch Leningrad as a kind of King's Indian where f5 has been played accelerated. No, this is your 10th game with f4. You won all previous 9 games, but why the Leningrad? Because I hate the other Dutch defense lines? That's why. The Leningrad is best. And I'm a King's Indian player, Saronche, so I feel at home, you know, playing moves like Queen e1 with a kingside fianchetto. So knight d4. Now, this queen actually has a very useful diagonal in some lines. You know, I don't know if he achieves anything with this knight d4 move. But he can certainly take on c2. I mean, obviously that's the threat. I guess you just have to calculate this stuff. You know, is this pawn really going to be a problem for him on d4 somehow? I don't know. You know, I don't have like queen b4. Queen f2 is very awkward. One would imagine I have to play knight a3. This is the only move that smoothly develops for white. So, I don't like my knight on a3. And what happens if I play knight e5? And I like leave his knight in limbo. Knight e5, c4, c3. Bishop takes a3. Pawn takes d4. What's going on around there? Not really sure. Looks pretty bizarre, to be honest. The alternative is c3. Knight takes f3 check. But I don't understand, Saronche, why... okay, I lost the position with f4 against Kiriakos-Pez. I remember very clearly. But maybe it was by a different order of moves. Maybe I played g3 or b3 on move 1. I don't remember. But it definitely became a Dutch. c3, knight takes f3. Bishop takes f3. Just kind of typical position. I don't know where Mule Skinner comes up with this stuff. Knight d4. That's a line in a normal Leningrad where you like fianchetto with black, you know, but I've never seen it in this kind of structure. Still, what can we do? There seems to be no way to take advantage of this. c3 seems really lame. What else can I do? I guess I could just play e4 and just ignore it. You know, maybe that makes some sense. Oh, I was talking about knight e5, right? The problem is c4 all the time, threatening bishop takes a3 and knight c2. I guess there are a lot of other moves. I could play bishop d2. Not really exciting move. Playable. I'm running out of time. I know. Alright. Whatever, man. I don't know. Knight e5, bishop d2, c3. He can't just play c4 in any old position, though. That's true. What's the plan here? I don't know. I don't know what else to do. I'm running out of time. Let's just make logical moves. Alright, I wasted all my time thinking about something that I'm not really sure mattered. It looks equal to me. Pretty much. Black's pretty solid. Maybe we have some kingside attacking chances. G4, G5, E4, E5. But I don't want to weaken my position too much. And I still have to develop as well. You know? I think I looked at C4. That doesn't look really right. But it's possible. I think Kira Kospes got me with that move at some point. Knight B5, Queen B6 looks okay for black. C4 isn't really, doesn't really look right. E4. Knight C2 is a little bit passive. I guess we should try to do something here. How compact Muleskinner plays. Like, no weaknesses, man. I mean, I like the way this guy plays. I'm surprised his score is as bad as it is against me. It's, like, unbelievable. I mean, because so often he has a good position. It's similar to Constant Change, another one of our regular opponents. He's absolutely playing this like a monster. Of course, closed positions are his specialty. I have no idea what I'm doing here. Objectively, we're just taking space. Just playing for space. It's a French defense again. What about my knight, though? Alright, we're going to play the structure. The French. It's a French. Yes, I said that already. He's got some play on the queen side. We have f5. The battle lines are drawn similar to King's Indian. I don't know how he has 4 minutes more than me. That's pretty impressive. But he just doesn't have to think. Unlike myself. Typically, I have to think. I think he's gotten faster lately. May just be my imagination. But, seems like it. Look how fast he is, dude. He's like blitzing the moves. With 4 minutes time advantage. I don't remember the old Muleskinner doing that. I used to think it was an old guy. Well, I mean, you know, I think this is a good trade. 2 for 1 sale. We have some serious attacking chances. Lost his central strong point. Probably not good. Maybe c4 wasn't the most fluid move for black. Guys, we're going to play at least 2 more games. We've got Abaraba and Girl of Chess. I don't know if we'll have time to get to Dumb Saint and Ayeste. With the time change in the U.S., I'm a little bit messed up with some of my lessons and stuff. People who normally I have activities with from the USA, I'm pushing everything an hour up because of the time change those guys have there. So I'm a little bit under time pressure. I'd like to stay a little bit longer, but at the same time I have other responsibilities. Everything's moved up an hour this week and next week till Europe catches up, and next weekend with the time change in the USA. So basically in time pressure this week. Improved after the old guy criticism. He improved after the old guy criticism. I'm not sure I revealed that, I thought he was an old guy till after he started moving faster lately. I felt like he used to have more time pressure against me. I even felt like sometimes he was as bad as me with the time pressure. But okay, it's kind of addictive, this getting in time pressure and increment. I mean, Alexander Ivanov and Walter Brown are two of the most intense time pressure addicts I ever played, and I played them both numerous games, more with Ivanov than Walter Brown. But these are guys who would get into time pressure basically every game, every single game. Like, didn't matter if they were better, worse, equal. They would get in time pressure every single game. And how many times you watch people just like crumble because they're getting nervous in the Grandmaster's time pressure. It just again and again and again and again and again. Like, for every time that Alexander Ivanov or Walter Brown lost on time, there were like 5 other games where basically somebody else just kind of like freaked out. Alright, this is a funny move to play Bishop G2. But I was just panicking, like I'm not supposed to. Yeah, I have no interest in that. No interest at all in said rook. With the white square weaknesses in my position, it's not an option. This passed pawn is basically a winner, so I don't care about that. Rook. Looks like we're taking him out here. This is just a win-win situation. This passed pawn should basically do the trick. Even if this is a nice save, Bishop G5, man. See, that's what I'm talking about. He's finding like only moves with very little time on the clock. I mean, I guess it's not that hard to find it, but still. It's a pretty good move. Now I can take, right? He could have taken on E3. He should have taken on E3 in that position. Could have, should have, would have. Oh, bad move. Alright, we blundered. We missed 97 check. It happens to the best of us sometimes. You see, Muleskin like getting panicky. You guys have to get used to playing with increment. And come on, if you play in tournaments, you got increment too. So, Abaraba challenging me to 7-4. It's Weird Wednesday. We're playing unusual openings. I like Mule Skinner's opening. I thought he'd equalized. But something went wrong. Something went wrong there when the position got locked into a French type of structure. Maybe Mule Skinner, it would have been safer to like trade pawns on e4 to create, you know, I know that you're giving up your strong point, but you create a symmetrical structure where I'm a little loose. My position's a little bit loose. I mean, I know you don't like giving up your strong point on d5, but maybe it was justified there. Just to create an open file type of position where a mutually open file, there's not a lot either side can really do. I don't think that I'm really better after the opening. So Abaraba, I don't remember what he plays, to be honest. We'll try to come up with something interesting. Yeah, I like find it hard to play against Mule Skinner because he's so so tough in these closed kind of positions. But the majority of my wins are time related. You know, if he's not in time pressure lately, he loses in my time pressure. So Abaraba played g6. g6 is a great move to play against lower rated players. But as I said yesterday, check out the game like Ivan Chuk versus Bindi Cheng from Gibraltar Masters. Like, you know, I wouldn't play g6 against stronger players with black. Unless that's my only, like I'm Tiger Hiller person, and g6 is my only opening. All right, but you got to play what you know. What are we going to do against g6? It's hard to play something unusual against an opening that hyper modern. What can we do? You know. Unusual attempt against g6. Well, if it was like the Peerts, I'd probably have better ideas. Peerts is a little more concrete. What can you do? I mean, h4. Kamran Shirazi used to play h4, even in serious games. I mean, I guess there's some justification to that, but it just looks stupid to me. I don't know. It's not totally stupid. I've never really quite understood it, though. It just seems like you're playing a kind of caveman type of thing, very early with no development. I don't really know, you know. h4, h5. It seems like black should be fine. So here we go, wasting time again. All right, let's just try to play some normal moves and see if we can come up with something slightly unusual against this modern defense. What can we do that would be out of the ordinary for white? f4, once I played against Igor Foigl, it's not an unusual move, it's just probably not a good move. Because after f4, he has c5 pretty effectively. Yeah, I mean, coming up with unusual moves in such positions is hard to do. I mean, everything's been tried, basically. The only unusual moves are absurd bad moves that have never been played before, like a4. Everything else has been tried. Every single move that's even remotely logical has probably been played here. We could play h4. I don't know what else to think of. All right. Let's try to think of something. We're still in book, but to get out of book with an unusual line. Again, I know the Peert's a little bit better. I would know more like concrete ideas of how to play an unusual line against the Peerts. But against the modern, it's a little bit more flexible. I don't know what to do, you know. Bishop g5. Perhaps. Now let's try bishop g5. That looks interesting. This is definitely good against the Peerts again, but here, yeah. All right. Would be standard against the Peerts with the knight on f6. That would transpose. If you play knight f6 Abaraba, we can play bishop g5 Peerts. Not really an unusual line. Kind of an interesting line. Play main lines if you want to try something unusual. Paschall, do you know who Elisa Maric is? Yeah, of course I've heard her name. But I never met her. For whatever reasons. Haven't played that many like open tournaments in Europe. I played more in the United States, and mostly like closed tournaments here in Budapest. So I never crossed paths with Elisa Maric. C6. Queen. Yeah, this is a flexible move. That's a good idea against bishop g5, I think. Maybe we can sack a pawn, you know? Poison pawn type of line. Yeah, we can do that. Alexander Ivanov. I always talk about people that I know. You know, who else can you reference but the people that you know? A favorite of his is the digestion of pawn variation, like going down here, taking pawn, and then running away. And that's a typical Korchnoi type of scheme, you know, where you grab material and then you run away and hide and kind of keep the material. So I thought queen b6 would be interesting. Queen b6, like knight f3. As I said, I don't know Elisa Maric. I haven't really played any Serbian women except for, I think, Alexander Dimitrievich. I think I actually might have beaten her with the St. George defense, if I'm not mistaken. That was a long time ago, though. The only Serbian woman player I faced, probably her. Knight f6. Right, so this should actually like be going into some kind of book now. f4. Now I guess this is back in theory. So bishop g5. This is a really sharp way for white to try to play, like a Austrian attack with the bishop outside the pawn chain. Creates a lot of original problems. I don't know the theory too well, or at all. I think I actually studied it with one of my students 15 years ago, but not very deeply even then. So I'm just kind of on my own. I mean, I've glossed over some new in chess studies in this line many years ago. Again, talked about it with a student, but I'm on my own pretty much here, theoretically. Just me and my sense of, you know, my general chess sense. Blaze of Glory. I lost connection. Did he say he had time to play me, Blaze of Glory? Blaze of Glory, probably not. Blaze of Glory, oh, your godlike moves? No, dude. We're probably going to play like one more game. I mean, I think this is the next to last game today. I don't think we're even going to get to Dumsing and Ayeste. I would stay a little bit longer, but as I said, I'm a little bit screwed up with the time changing. I mean, it looks like he's asking for it here. Knight d7. Not the end of the world, though. I mean, black might even have stuff like Pavel Blatny style. Knight f8, knight e6. Blatny plays some really weird sort of stuff. Now here, this move looks like it might be a concrete mistake. You know, I mean, I think, well, what's he going to do, actually? Yeah, I was thinking he would play knight d5, but that doesn't work. I could just take and play takes. Now, maybe he could play that, like knight d5, knight takes d5, pawn takes pawn f6. And you get the pawn back. You have to calculate here, concretely. But f takes looks just really good for white. e6 pawn sacrifice, maybe. Maybe it's yeah, this position looks suspicious for black. Still, I don't necessarily think I have a forced win. I don't see how he can just give me a pawn for nothing, though, with knight to d5. Maybe that's not that stupid. Okay. Sacrificing a pawn for development. Interesting. I could play e6. We have just a big space advantage, but he's going to bust out with f6 at some point. The question is that white might be a little overextended. Where am I putting my king? Etc., etc. Still, black's pieces just don't look very active here, you know. Okay, he's got f6, but how? You know, he's going to play it with his king on e8. Is he going to play? He needs to play like king g8, king h8, and then f6. But by that time, white will have a lot of development. And I also have e6 sometimes. Not so easy, though, to play e6, perhaps. There's no queen a5 check. He has queen b6 here. Queen b6, queen b3. Guarding e3. Abaraba needs to play a little faster. Connor says you're so good. What? 55 years young. He's 55 years young. Right. The castle's queenside puts my king in a very awkward place. But on the other hand, I'm not sure I like the other alternatives. Queen b3, queen a5 check, c3, knight c5. Actually, that's not the right move right away. He should wait a move. Castles. Seems like he has counterplay. I could play bishop c4 first. Bishop c4 first. I'm picking up my king. There's a queen check here. That's probably okay. We can allow that. Well, man, I'm seriously thinking about taking on e7. Castles, bishop takes e7. Why not? Our pieces are really well placed. Queen d5, bishop c4, bishop g5. e6 is just... could be forced, but it's kind of awkward. Now the problem is... I guess I play queen d6 here. I don't like doing this, but it gets the queens off the board. I have a powerful pass pawn on d6. Even though I jettison this pawn on b2, I don't think that pawn's that important. Now where? Rook b1, rook d1. Okay, he got his pawn back, but I have good king, a powerful pass pawn on d6. Very good development, you know. I mean, I gotta think that white is nearly winning here, even though I had to give the pawn back. My pieces are just brutally active. It's almost like a paralysis. An h4. This could be a real kingside attack now. In ending, you know, surprisingly, there's a lot of situations where you can actually attack the enemy king. I mean, this endgame looks like a good situation for a direct kingside attack. I'm not really happy to see bishop there. I was not banking on that. Shoot. That is not a happy thing. Fortunately, we're on b7, and he can't really afford to drop that pawn. So we seem to have him in a kind of paralytic state. Looks like Leiko would hold on here with black. How do we finish him off? Damn. Looks like he's hanging on. Abaraba. Shit. I don't think he's really from New Guinea. Suddenly I could be worse. My pawn is in danger of falling. Damn, even with this very powerful passed pawn. I don't know about rook d8 though. Maybe he should have just played b6 there. I guess there were some problems with bishop b5, rook d8, knight c6. My pawn would have been hanging in that spot. So he's turned his position into something basically defensible. Wow. What's going on here? That was not the move I anticipated. I thought he was going to play... My God, I thought he was going to play a6 when my bishop has to go to e8, which was a really cool line. So Abaraba tricked me, but it's probably bad for him. I mean, the key line was c4, a6, bishop e8, rook takes e8, rook takes b6 with advantage to white. I didn't think he would see it, you know, and now we're just better. He has a nasty fork, though. I think it's time for a little material investment. The investment. We got a really nasty duo. The pawn duo. Unfortunately, there's no direct win. Oh, man. It's kind of tedious. Should be winning for white, though, I would imagine. The king is a fighting piece. Abaraba, come on. It would be anticlimactic to lose on time. This king is a monster. This is a nightmare. It doesn't matter, does it? The pawns are the important thing. Not like grabbing material or what have you, you know. These guys. So, they're worth a rook, at least. Abaraba. Okay, guys, last game for today. I'm sorry, Dumb Saint and Ayeste, but we've gotta cut it. Gotta cut it at this game. I owe you one, Dumb Saint and Ayeste. Stop on by tomorrow. We're gonna play you guys. Show up a little earlier. E4 from Girl of Chess. So our WGM anti-WGM move is A6, but we already played an A6 today. So let's play something else with black against E4. That's a little bit not usual. Nimzovich defense. I often play this in my simuls. It is an opening that I played on a fairly regular basis against weaker players. It's a good opening to play in like club tournaments. People generally don't know how to deal with it. The main moves are d5 and e5. They're completely different. Yeah, hell with it. Let's play d5. I never played this. I always played d6. One of my heroes, Grandmaster Tony Miles, used to play d6 for black. I played it a lot, and I had a lot of fun with that. And actually, Girl of Chess plays a line that I play with white, knight c3. I think I lost a game with white. How was it? I didn't lose a game on the stream. I had not a simul game. I had a correspondence game where I messed this up with black. So e6 transposes to a, you know, Guimard type of. It's really not a Guimard because it's just a French type of position, for lack of a better word. But the main line is takes, and I got this line out of a curious correspondence game. I think from. I had a book of Curious's games, and I saw one game where he played this very early in his career. He had a game against someone, one impressive game. But Girl of Chess, I think this is just a blunder. Knight takes e4. She reactively, took, but you have to play d5 here. d5, knight e5. I had a strange game where the guy went knight b8 recently. And I messed it up. I mean, it seems better to play knight e5 to me, but knight b8 is a move too, and I actually misplayed that with white. So maybe there's something for this knight b8. You know, rather than playing knight e5 and encouraging white to play something like queen d4, bishop f4. After d5, you can play knight b8. Now that's interesting. I looked in the database, and it's actually a number of games with knight b8. You know, it's not clear that the more natural knight e5 is necessarily better. But Girl of Chess just jettisoned the pawn. I mean, I think it's going to be hard for white to prove that this is a valid pawn sacrifice. We could take either way. Let's take with the queen, hitting the knight with tempo. We're up a pawn, so trading queens is good for me. Well, what? And knighting what? Once a good blitz player, always a good blitz player. Right, Mupavach? We're just going to call him Mupavach because that's what his name is. Knight takes d4. So Girl of Chess, I guess, you know, if you drop this pawn, probably you should try something tricky. Like, objectively, on a practical level, maybe you could play something weird like queen e2. I don't know. But it's alright. You dropped a pawn, you know, you dropped a pawn. Now try to play like bishop d3 and somehow save the game down a pawn. I would look for a way to try to avoid trading queens after losing this pawn. Actually, you know, she can play. There's a funny line here. Bishop d3. Because you're hoping to gain time on my queen. And then the funny line is knight b4. Bishop d3, knight b4, bishop b5 check, winning my queen, right? But you're not really winning my queen. I could just play c6, and after queen takes d4, knight takes e2 check, and take back on d4. So that would be funny. Bishop d3, knight b5, bishop b5 check, c6. Your move, and it looks like black is just winning. All right. So white is just down a pawn. I'm not sure if I want to play knight f6. It's a natural move to challenge the knight on e4. Okay, let's do it. I mean, a pawn up is a pawn up, and even with doubled pawns, it should be winning in like most endings. And this challenges this powerful piece on e4, you know? I mean, I don't really know that I want to play with that knight sitting on e4 the whole game. And if I don't play knight f6, how am I going to get rid of it? The other way to do it would be to play bishop f5. But I'm probably going to have to part with my my bishop, basically, to get rid of the knight on e4. And I didn't like discoveries and stuff like that. So bishop f5, c3, knight c6, knight d6 check, pawn takes pawn, bishop takes f5. She has the bishop pair. It's a little bit of compensation. I think we like g takes f here, because a lot of king and pawn endgames and other stuff, my pawn is going to be really pretty useless if I go with e takes in the structure. I think the extra pawn is a lot more meaningful when I take back toward the center, and I have this pawn amoeba here in the middle of the board. That's more dynamic. Okay, I don't know, but Girl of Chess just resigned by mistake. We don't know why she resigned. She hallucinated, she blundered. She's distracted with her baby. Okay. Alright, let's play one last game against Dumb Saint. That was a really short game, so I said that would be the last one, but Girl of Chess got distracted. I hope Dumb Saint didn't leave us. Okay. Let's try an Alekine's defense. My teammate Zoltan Varga is he's a really pretty fanatical Alekine's defense player. And there's not a lot of GMs running around who play the Alekine's defense on a regular basis. We have two here in Hungary. Zoli Varga and Ferenc Berkes. And Berkes is currently like 2,600 plus. And Varga was around 2,600 at one point. But Alekine's defense is another opening. I think hyper modern openings are absolutely the bomb against weaker players. But very, very risky when you're playing stronger guys. So he's correcting me on pronunciation of Mupats. It's a little bit different. Cyrillic letter C is pronounced another way. But meaning of my name is Inspector in the Police Department. I'm the highest police officer, that's my job. So that's the meaning of my profile. You can't arrest me unless I go to Serbia. But I'll keep that in mind. I haven't been in a while. I played the last time many, many years ago. In 2001, I think. I played a tournament in Belgrade. Is it like ch? How do you pronounce it? The C, anyway. Bishop d3. This is an abstract. The abstract. A tribe called Quest. Bishop d3 is an abstract Morozevichian move against the Alekine's defense. Why not? I mean, you can do this against anything. Bishop d3. Okay. Let's play along with this guy. You want to get really weird? We can play like knight a6. How do you feel about that? That's probably like pretty bad for black. Bishop takes a6, and I have a really bad structure. So I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do that. I don't like it. e5. e5 is fine. The c5 transposes to like the Kopek Sicilian with my knight on f6. Interesting. Well, this is in keeping with the unusual opening theme. I like it. Bishop d3. So, another possibility would be a Pirtz type of setup with d6. But I think he's gonna do the same plan, kind of like no matter what I do. You know, c3, bishop c2, etc., etc., etc. Is there any way to take advantage of that, though? Is there any way to put immediate pressure on him? You know, d5 probably is black's sharpest move here. But it's not really convincing to me. Like d5, pawn takes pawn, queen takes. We could play knight c6. Has a kind of cool feel to it. All right, we're totally in another zone now. I mean, we're just not going to find any games in the database in this position. Maybe. Crusader of Hope, thanks for joining us. Bishop d3 is really bad, says CT 33,000. I mean, you know what? It's not that bad. it goes against kind of classical principles, but white can afford to make one quote-unquote bad move in the early stage, and he's still probably equal. Queen e2, and so this hyper-modern plan of knight c6, I'm playing like just my knights. I was actually gunning for his bishop with knight b4, and I think that's what we're going to do here. Zoli Varga was talking to me Sunday about the Alekhine's defense, and he was talking about like e4, knight f6, e5, knight g8, and saying how it's like actually kind of interesting. Carlsen has played it. It has a kind of a decent score, and I think it's called like the Manhattan variation or something, because Joel Benjamin played it. But I'm thinking of stuff like that here, like knight to b4, e5. There's really no reason for me to play knight g8 though. The question would arise after knight takes d3 check, queen takes d3, I might have to play knight g8. But I think this just leads to interesting play. Another weird move is knight e5. But I'm a little concerned about like bishop b5 at the very least. But should I be even hunting this bishop, you know? That's another question. I'm really not sure. Is it worth going to all this trouble to take this bishop? My feeling is that it's a very early in the game. It's not a lock structure. The bishop is slightly stronger long-term, is a slightly stronger long-term piece than a knight. We could play a strategy where we try to play against that bishop, but I think after c3, bishop c2, it's going to become like a kind of standard position. So we're going to be creative here. But I think the knight g8 there would have been, you know, critical. Probably e5, knight takes d3, queen takes d3, knight g8, and then we play chess. But I have the bishop pair, you know, so I should be... I talk a lot lately about not overvaluing bishops, but it's a fact that the bishop is, in many positions, a stronger piece than a knight in a vacuum. So now, you know, he's got some white square weaknesses because he's played c3, and I like that. We have a white square bishop, he doesn't. He has some white square weaknesses. I think that's really good. We could even play d5 here. Could play b6. Nah. e5's a threat. I mean, e5, knight g8. I don't really want to go out of my way to play e5, knight g8, if I can help it. Alright, this queen has lateral mobility. Keep that in mind. But I think the plan is probably to play like b6, bishop b7. This is more or less along the same lines as the the St. George I played, and some other openings. Maybe b6 is too hyper modern. I don't know. Okay, e5, knight d5, queen e4, rook b8. I'm not going to play c6 and block the diagonal of my bishop. You know, rook b8, it's not like I'm castling queenside and I'm losing my right to castle or something. That's happened sometimes on the king side if you have to play rook g8. Rook b8, it's not a big concession. You know, he's very possibly going to go into that kind of line. But white looks a little overextended here. He's got a whole position full of white square weaknesses. That's what I see when I look at the board. I mean, this bishop is white squared. He doesn't have a white square bishop. His whole position is filled with like white squares that are kind of sensitive and hard to keep protected. Because he played c3, primarily because of c3, but also because of e5. I mean, he has pawns on dark squares. b2, c3, e5. Dark square pawn chain. And in that kind of pawn chain, you can't really afford to lose your white squared bishop. You didn't move any pawns yet. I did now. We did now. We played e6 and b6. I mean, I did not move any pawns. I moved just these guys. But they're enough, you know, to get the pieces out. We just moved the pieces we need to get out. We're getting out very efficiently. Very compact. c4 is no good. It's hard for him to shake my knight. You know, queen e4 was my main concern. Maybe I should play bishop b7 first. I'm not sure that it makes a whole lot of difference. Bishop b7, bishop e7. But just in case he likes this plan of queen e4, we can play rook b8. We could even play, well, no, not there. Queen c8, a little less natural. I was thinking queen e4 and transfer his queen over here. Alright, this is really weakening. c4. Have to calculate now. Knight f4. That looks more centralized, you know, than anywhere else. But knight f4. Knight f4, queen e3. g5, d4. Knight b4 with the idea of knight c2. The problem there is like queen c3, my knight gets kicked out, but actually knight b4 might be good. Maybe knight b4 is just good. We try to smash his pawn structure. Is it worth it though to like give up our bishop on f3? Man. Now I think knight b4 is good. It's protected too. This guy is protected. That's kind of key. I don't have to worry about moving him right away. We can chop this guy and or girl as you like, and then we've got nasty stuff. Nasty stuff, basically white's getting chopped up structurally. White is overextended. So, chop, chop. I mean, we should look for something better. Larry Christensen always says, I'm sure he borrowed this from someone else, but like when you see a good move, it's normally a good time to look for a better move. And that advice is absolutely correct. But we're happy here because I think he should have played queen c3. I guess this was like forced to protect his e5 pawn. We're chopping this guy, then we're playing check and eating the pawn on e5, and I think that's good enough. Like we're winning a central pawn. We have very few weaknesses, and development is fine. White's getting mated like Ryazantsev against Yakovenko at the United Arab Emirates. Yeah, it's no development, weaknesses everywhere, too many pawn moves, not enough piece moves. This is more than just a central pawn. I mean, this is his strong point. It's practically forced mate. It is forced. No, is it forced mate? I don't think there's an immediate mate. Yeah. We're going to mate him, though. Only move f4. Queen takes f4. Only move king g2. Queen g4 check. King h1. Queen f3 check. King g1. Queen h3. And we're threatening queen takes h2 mate. And we're also threatening bishop takes. Yeah, he can't defend. If you look at it, the only move is f4. It's mate in 4. f4. Queen takes f4. King g2. Queen g4 check. King h1. Now queen f3 check isn't necessary. I just go here, and it's forced mate. Okay. Anyway, guys, I've got to run. Thanks for joining me here. We'll be back tomorrow with more blitz and classical chess. Thanks to everybody for playing and joining in. We've got a new FIDE master. That's awesome. Every time we have a strong player, it's a lot more fun. Sometimes Spinal Tap Chess, I am, and Justice Bot have been on the stream yesterday. They were hanging out, but it makes it fun. We've got some strong players to play here. So thanks to you for playing, Mr. FIDE Master, Policeman. And we'll be back tomorrow. Thanks, everybody. And check out my YouTube channel, Video Chess Training on YouTube. That's Video Chess Training on YouTube. I'm also available for lessons if you want to send me an email and you're interested in lessons. The email is videochesstrainer@gmail.com. You guys are awesome. Thanks to those who have donated via PayPal. Help support the stream. That helps a lot, and I really appreciate it. So thanks to Plukro and Saronche. Saronche, our main man, he's been away for a while, but he's back, better than ever. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.